Cold, hostile to life, and yet full of fascinating inhabitants, the Arctic is one of the most extreme regions on Earth. With temperatures that can drop to -50 degrees Celsius in winter, it seems uninhabitable at first glance. But despite these icy conditions, it is home to an amazing diversity of species, including seals, whales, Arctic foxes, and also true giants like walruses. Because of their size and tusks, walruses only have one natural enemy on land, and that is the polar bear. While the polar bear is considered the king of the Arctic and the king of all bears, the walrus is a living tank with 4 flippers. Normally a fight between two fully grown of the two animals would not occur, as walruses generally do not attack polar bears, and polar bears would never attack an adult walrus, but rather go after the smaller, weaker walruses in the herd. But let's just assume that a fully grown polar bear is dueling with a fully grown walrus. Who would have the upper hand in this fight? Many would probably assume that the polar bear wins, simply because polar bears are among the strongest and most dangerous apex predators in the world and have no natural enemies, except for humans, of course. But the reality looks a bit different. Without spoiling too much, the outcome of such a fight is actually pretty clear. So let's take a closer look at these two animals in order to better determine the outcome of the fight. And one of the aspects that probably matters the most in this fight is both animals' size and weight. Both animals are two mass monsters, but there is still a huge difference between the two. Polar bears are the largest of all bear species, with an average body length ranging between 2.4 to 3 meters and weighing between 370 to 600 kilograms. The polar bear is perfectly adapted to the harsh life in the Arctic. Its long, streamlined body makes it an excellent swimmer, while its powerful front paws give it speed on both ice and water. Its dense layer of fat protects it from the cold. The polar bear is also equipped with a strong jaw and long, curved claws. The walrus, on the other hand, is much bigger than the polar bear. Walruses can reach body lengths of up to 3.6 meters and weigh between 1,300 to 1,700 kilograms, while exceptionally large individuals can even reach more than 2,000 kilograms. The walrus is a massive colossus with a wide, barrel-shaped body shape. Its skin is extremely thick and is underlain by a thick layer of fat, which both insulates it and protects it from attacks. The powerful front fins allow it to move surprisingly well despite its weight, while the distinctive tusks serve not only as a weapon but also as a tool for pulling up on ice floes. Its head is rather small compared to the rest of its body, but its massive neck gives it the strength it needs to deliver powerful blows to the head with its tusks. So in a direct size and weight comparison between the two animals, the walrus clearly dominates, as it is around 20% bigger and weighs more than 3 times the weight of a polar bear. And the fact that the walrus is so much more massive than the polar bear already puts it at a huge advantage. However, what we also need to consider is both animals' weaponry for attacking each other, including their teeth, claws and tusks, for example. And here the polar bear is much more versatile than the walrus, which is also due to the fact that polar bears are natural predators and walruses, on the other hand, are rather defensive. With an average bite force of 1,200 pounds per square inch, the polar bear has the strongest bite of all bear species and is capable of crushing a bowling ball with no effort. On top of that, they use their claws to grab and tear apart prey, and the reason why their claws are so sharp is to help give them traction on the ice so they do not slip. So while polar bears have claws and teeth to use, walruses, on the other hand, only have their tusks. These tusks, however, can grow to astonishing lengths of up to 1 meter. With their tusks, it is actually possible to pierce other animals or ram them away. Walruses also use their tusks to pull themselves out of the water onto the ice, and their extremely strong neck muscles help them move their heads quickly and keep their tusks facing the attacker. So, while polar bears mainly use their claws and teeth to attack, walruses use their tusks to defend. But how would their weapons work against each other? Even though polar bears are among the most dangerous predators in the world and could easily cause fatal injuries to most animals, things are a little different with walruses. For a polar bear, it is very hard to cause serious injury to a walrus, and there are many reasons for this. Walruses have incredibly thick skin, which can be up to 10 centimeters thick. Additionally, they have a layer of blubber underneath, which can be up to 15 centimeters thick. Both together serve as extremely good protection against the claws and bites of polar bears, which absorb a large part of the damage inflicted. Furthermore, as already mentioned, walruses have their tusks that serve as great protection. The walrus's tusks are its most dangerous weapon and an absolute death trap for a polar bear in a frontal attack. These canines, up to 1 meter long, are made of solid ivory and are not only impressively large, but also incredibly strong. They can penetrate deep into flesh, pierce bones, and even severely injure internal organs with a single targeted thrust. A polar bear that attacks head-on is making a fatal mistake. He has to force himself into the immediate area of effect of these tusks, with no way to quickly avoid them. A walrus doesn't even need to actively charge forward. A single head movement or reflex is enough to pierce the bear with full force. Even a light hit could cause wounds and cause the polar bear to bleed profusely, while a well-placed jab could be instantly fatal. In addition, the walrus can move its head and upper body quickly to keep the attacker in view at all times. Any attempt by the bear to approach head-on would put it in a hopeless position where it could be impaled at any time by those deadly tusks. So, attacking a walrus head-on is plain stupid and hopeless. But how would a fight go when the polar bear manages to successfully attack the walrus from behind or from the side? If the polar bear manages to surprise the walrus from the side or behind, it will have a significantly better starting position than in a head-on duel. However, even with this advantage, the fight remains extremely risky, as the walrus has several natural defense mechanisms that make a successful attack extremely difficult. The best attack point for the polar bear would be the neck or throat. A forceful bite to the throat could potentially block the airway or hit an artery, while an attack on the neck could unbalance the walrus and weaken it. But this is exactly where the problem for the polar bear begins. The skin and layer of blubber of a walrus are exceptionally thick. This natural armor makes it nearly impossible for the polar bear to cause fatal damage with a single bite or swipe of its paws. Even if he manages to sink his powerful jaws deep into the walrus's skin, it could be a long time before the injury has any serious impact. And it is this delay that gives the walrus time to fight back. A walrus is by no means defenseless. On the contrary, it has enormous power and can be extremely dangerous even on the defensive. If the polar bear were to attack from behind, the walrus could abruptly roll to the side or shake off the attacker with a jerky push forward. If the bear jumps onto the walrus's back, it could use its own massive body weight to drop, a move that could potentially bury the bear and cause it serious internal injuries. In addition, walruses are by no means immobile. Their powerful front flippers allow them to quickly shift or turn sideways, allowing them to assume a new defensive position in a short time. And if the walrus manages to turn around even slightly, the bear suddenly finds itself face to face with its deadly tusks, a situation it wanted to avoid at all costs. Another problem for the polar bear is time. Unlike the walrus, which can simply focus on defense with its thick skin and fat pad, the bear must actively fight to have a chance of winning. Every bite, every paw, and every attempt to take down the walrus costs enormous energy. If the fight lasts longer, the polar bear could begin to tire and its attacks would lose power. Walruses are known to be able to ride out attacks from polar bears, simply by continuing to defend themselves until the bear gives up or gets into a bad position. So, to put everything into perspective, against a fully grown walrus, a polar bear has almost no chance of winning, even when it manages to get in a surprise attack from behind or from the side. While it is possible for the polar bear to cause some sort of injury due to the walrus's incredibly thick skin, as well as its massive weight, which it can use to just roll over or bury the polar bear under its body, a fight will probably always result in victory for the walrus, especially when both animals go head-to-head. Then a polar bear has almost no chance of winning because of the walrus's tusks. So in my opinion, the fight is actually not even close, and the walrus will win most fights with low difficulty. But what do you think? Could a polar bear defeat a fully grown adult walrus? Write your opinion in the comments down below. And if you don't want to miss any new videos about hypothetical animal versus animal analysis, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.